Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Very good, thanks, Judy.
Good to see everyone. Well, welcome to the August edition of the EAC monthly meetings. I like to call the meeting to order. First order of business. Anybody have any questions or comments, additions to the minutes? No, everybody good? Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
Second?
Second, yeah.
All right, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Thank you. All right, minutes approved. Thank you very much. All right, we'll start out with our project updates. First up, rain garden maintenance and workshop. And I'll start off, Dawn, real quick. I saw Kim Zachary last night at another meeting, and she saw this on the agenda and was very excited about it.
Good.
So, but I think she said if there's anything she can do, she's interested in jumping in and helping as well.
She can show up and help pull weeds, so I'll let her know that.
Okay.
She actually would be super helpful because she's helped pull weeds. I've been on a team with her before out at the blind trail at North Park. She's actually pretty good at pulling barberry, so
Okay.
I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah, and I also mentioned, I know we had talked about maybe involving the activities committee and.
Yeah, I can go ahead and start on the update if you want. And
yeah,
that's
go
all
right ahead.
part of
So
it.
before I forgot, I just wanted to fill you in on, she wanted me to pass that along. So
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I haven't emailed you the project form yet. Dave gave it to me. I've filled it out. I've almost got it finished. I'm still monkeying with the formatting, and the wording. But I'll have that form to you here by the end of this evening. But what we're looking at, what we've ended up coming up with is, I think we're going to end up offering a 3-part workshop. Trying to choose one date and time that worked for a lot of different folks was becoming increasingly more difficult. So what we're going to do is offer it 3 Tuesdays in a row, starting on August 30th, then on September 6th, and then September 13th. And we'll do it in the evening from, don't have the time set in stone yet, but let's say 6 to dusk. And the reason we're offering 3 different dates is I really feel like this is going to open it up. I had been in contact with a scouting group that was interested in the event, but was struggling with what would be a good date and time for them because they already had so much going on. North Allegheny School starts back on August 22nd. A lot of the kids have already started back to school activities, sports, and things like that. So there's a lot going on. And I thought this would open it up to a broader audience. And I'm going over there anyway to pull weeds. I just, I'll just gonna do it in a structured way for 3 weeks in a row and hope that we can get some folks to help.
Yeah. What was your third date again? I'm sorry. I got the 30th, the 6th, and what's the third one?
The 13th.
The 13th.
So all Tuesdays, and we'll do it in the evening when it'll be cooler and hopefully after work and hopefully after some activities have wrapped up from the school age kids. And then I'm also going to offer to this particular scout group, and I apologize, I don't have their number right now, but I was also going to offer to their scout leader just that, if by chance there was anybody that was interested and those 3 dates didn't work, they could certainly reach out and, tag along some other time when I'm going to go. And I can do the little spiel about the plants and all that with them as well. So the idea is to get people in to weed the existing rain garden, which you can't even see anymore. It's been completely overrun by invasives, and I'm sure it's not completely functioning like it should. And so get that cleaned up and looking good again, and then use that opportunity to educate people about invasive plants in the landscape and why they're bad and how they have an impact, and then what a lot of the good plants and native plants are that you come across here in McCandless, and so what you can leave and what we should pull, kind of a thing.
Okay.
And
we've awesome.
Yeah, and I've been in touch with the Heritage Center staff, Abby. She's great. She's going to help out in any way. I'll be getting more involved with getting them involved now that once I get this form submitted to you. And then also the activities committee, you all had recommended that, and that was a great recommendation. I've talked to
Trish
Deb
Clunan.
Sagan, and what was that?
Trish Clunan.
I haven't talked to Trish yet. I think she's not currently the,
She's the liaison?
Yes, she's liaison for activities committee.
okay, yeah, I hadn't reached out to her because I had reached out to the actual activities committee. I haven't reached out to Libby yet, but I've talked to Deb Sagan. Because I went to her yoga thing, which was actually very nice. Did you guys know that we're doing yoga down at Devon Park on Saturday mornings?
I've seen the advertisements, yeah.
Yeah, see, our getting the word out in McCann is such a struggle. But anyways, yeah, so she's doing that down there. So I've talked to her. I need to follow back up. I'll talk to whoever on that committee she points me to, but Deb said, yeah, for sure, they would be absolutely interested in helping us get the word out on that. I think, have I missed anybody, Dave? Because you sort of know what's going on. Is there anybody else?
The
haven't
only one I was thinking was the Key Club. I would just
Yes.
connect with Jeremy Rack and see if they have any interest, because they do try to get service hours in. So it would be
Yes,
an opportunity for them.
you did mention that. I haven't done that. Just, I'll wait till here. I don't know. I guess the teachers, do you know, Tony, are the teachers back on campus for NA? Is your wife back on campus yet, or
I don't know.
next week, you say?
Yeah, I think they have some in service or.
Okay.
teacher dates,
Yeah.
next week.
I
Okay, so-
emailed Jeremy about the litter
Mhm.
earlier this week. I guess I haven't received anything back from him yet, but
That might be why he
normally
might not.
responds pretty quickly if he's, school's in session. So
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So I will reach out to them. I haven't done so yet. So that's pretty much the project in a nutshell. And then, like I said, I'll have the project form turned in and follow up with the other folks and get them on advertising for us and get some stuff out to John to advertise. And then I think we'll be on our way.
Do you want to try to have the fire department come in and
I do. And
Okay.
that's on my list, and I have that included on the project form as well. I didn't just mention it, but that was a great idea as well. Jack and John Bajorski gave me the contact information for who I need to start with out over there at the fire department. So I'm definitely going to do that, because pre-treating the site by wetting it at least a day in advance is going to make it so much easier to
great.
pull.
Are we gonna do any sort of reservations, or we just put it out there and everybody come?
I plan to include, John's email and a little request that folks register, just so we get a little idea, but I'm certainly not going to turn anybody away if they show up to pull weeds.
Is that okay, John?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
question I had when Don and I were going back and forth was about the waiver form for volunteers. Is that something that we would definitely need if they're, pulling weeds as opposed to
I mean, it's
picking
probably
up
safe.
litter in the roadside?
It's probably safe to have them fill it out.
I would think because of poison ivy and stuff, like people could potentially get something. I don't know. They should probably sign a waiver, I would think. But I'm in legal, so we always want waivers.
So I guess that we just we just have a pile of them there.
I can work with John to have a project specific waiver, take our litter waiver and
For any of the kids, they need to have that beforehand so that the parents can sign off on it.
very good point. I will make sure, that's such a good point. I'll make sure the scout
Yeah.
leader takes care of that for us. Okay, and the Key Club kids. There's also a green club at the IMS middle school. They garden, so I thought I'll at least reach out to them as well. I'll reach out to a few other groups. Matt and Tony and I had started to identify a bunch of groups. So, we'll throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks.
Mhm.
Maybe no in a show, and it'll just be me pulling weeds, me and Jack Casey.
Some of them
But-
show. I will make whichever one of those I can.
Okay.
I have something on the 30th, but I think I'm good the other two.
I actually like pulling weeds, so like I don't mind being there doing it. So yeah, if other people show up, great. We'll get more done. But if not,
Right.
I'm happy as a pig in mud over there pulling weeds. So
So the project form needs to come in, signed here. I don't know if we approve it or I don't think anyone has any objections, but it has to go to council on the 22nd,
Yeah.
which is the meeting before the 30th. So that's kind of the
Yeah.
deadline in terms of the
thanks,
Right.
Dave.
By the way,
Project form.
the last form
Yeah. you
was
told me.
approved.
right.
Thanks. So, because I think, I don't remember what even goes on there because I just did one. And the project number for it will be EAC
Mhm.
2022-02.
Okay. Figured as much.
Yeah, we had so many of them.
I'm
this year.
following your form. Dave sent me your form and
So, yeah, it looks like, I mean, you're the project chair, you sign it. And then I sign it, I guess, that we've approved it as a committee, and then it goes to Jack for town council signature.
okay.
So, and I will help you. Don't get hung up on it. If you have a question, let me know. It's just do the best you can with it. Fill
Yeah.
in as many blanks as I can. You can't fill them all in.
Okay. Yeah, I put a couple items as TBD, but I'll shoot it to you and then you can let me know if I need to make any adjustments.
Okay.
By the way, if by chance you run out of places to weed, besides my backyard, you have an opportunity up at North Meadows. We had a constituent get up to council last Monday and complain about the thistle above the retention pond. The town just went in and
North
cleaned up
Meadows.
the retention pond, but apparently it's an invasive species.
Yeah, it
that-
is. Where is
Yeah.
this now? North Meadows? I
North
think I know
Meadows,
that.
it's,
Give me like a landmark. I don't know. street names.
Conmingo Coffee Shop is.
Yes, that helps.
If
Thank
you
you.
go back in that neighborhood back there
Oh, yes.
to the right. is a
Okay.
Big retention pond, and that has some issues. Maybe you could take me back and educate me so I can have a informed conversation with him about what he needs to do.
Sure.
Because he's the president of the homeowners association and they want to address it. So if we could somehow educate him, I'm sure
Mhm.
that they'd be more than willing to listen and then do something about it.
Okay. All right. We can get back together about that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dawn. That sounds great. Definitely have interest of other folks on council and these other committees. That's fantastic. Any
Yes,
more
I-
questions?
I agree totally with the job Dawn's doing on this, because this was kind of on my plate for a year or two, and I never really got it launched or going, or ran out of steam, or for whatever reason, but kudos to Dawn for taking this on, and
I
Getting
like
going.
weeds, so I really do.
Well, you first had to establish that it wasn't somebody else's responsibility, which it should have been.
Yeah,
And I guess we exhausted all of those, so.
well, I
That
think
fell on us.
the initial question was, is the town happy with just abandoning these
Yeah.
rain gardens, or do we want to maintain them? So
to your point, Dave, I'm
kind
gonna
of-
put that in as a third element of the plan is that we'll present the town with a maintenance plan moving forward. That's a very key point. I didn't
Hmm.
include that here. After we're all done, we'll present a.
Well, I can tell you the appetite for the town to take care of anything more than they have is probably slim to none, because we have
Well,
120 retention ponds and 60 of them are under our direct review and they've been neglected. So that's the
I'm not
first priority.
so much putting it on the town as like, we'll continue to try to use volunteer labor and such to maintain it, but there are ways to keep it from getting this bad in the future, so we can at least bullet those and provide some sort of written protocol that suggested maintenance or best practices or something.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
Ken had brought up an idea about using the activities group to create Friends of Wall Park.
Mhm.
And maybe that's a great segue to have our activities group have Friends of these gardens and maybe adopt a garden like you adopt a highway.
Well,
and get-
that's, I think what Dave's original goal was to find an individual or individuals that would take on maintaining the garden each year for us. It's in such a state currently, though, that it's not in a position to be handed over to somebody, to maintain. So we sort of need to get it to that point. And this is all such good stuff. I'll make sure I get this in the project form, but we definitely need someone to adopt this rain garden, hopefully.
How many
and
rain gardens do we have?
That's such a good question. Well, rain gardens versus basins.
I think we're just talking rain
I
garden.
think just the
here.
one rain
Rain
garden.
gardens. I know how many retention ponds we have. I just don't know how many.
So I
rain
think it's
gardens.
just the one at the the one near the Heritage Center there that goes along the parking lot, the
I
whole
think we have
length.
one at the corner of Ingomar and Highland too. I think that's a rain garden up there.
So it's a good question. You know what? We'll have to figure that out. How we need a rain garden inventory. Do we have a written basin inventory? I said, I know you said you know them all, but like.
Yeah,
is there-
we do have an inventory of that. I can check with the town engineer.
I think I heard at one time that there was a rain garden behind the Public Works building,
Okay.
but that might be a detention. I'm not
No, I
sure.
think you're right, because there's a sign about Senator Early or something. Or something early. He used to be a legislator. As you're coming down that road.
Oh,
whatever it is.
on
Yeah.
McCandless Way or something, yeah.
Right.
That used to be.
Yeah, I don't know, I
way
think-
and he owned the property up above.
Mhm.
I think I remember Jason saying that long ago, but with the rain gardens, you're not just looking for, bodies to pull weeds, but there is a educational element to it, and stormwater and getting into Pine Creek and all of this. That's good for the kids or citizens or whoever, so.
Well, the Heritage Center is looking for ways to educate the public and become more sustainable by getting its name out there, et cetera. So
Yeah.
these are the kind of ideas that they're looking for to be able to have programs.
I tell you, Dave, too, to the extent that we haven't really partnered with the activities folks in the past for the litter cleanups, we should probably tap into that, because when I was just chatting with Deb very casually about it, we were just sort of saying that there needs to be more collaboration. The one doesn't really know what the other's doing or can do or should do, and sort of to the end goal of what we're doing with the EAC networking. That might be something to also think about, getting together with the other committees here at McCandless, what they do, how we can potentially work together, who's
I
on
think
them. That might be a
that's a-
nice thing.
I think that's a very key point is we don't know what the other committees are doing. They don't know what we're doing.
Yep.
And, like with the Friends of Wall Park, that's something that's really not our ballpark to play in, but that's something that the activities committee, but then some of the activities that they're doing from that can be stuff that we contribute to and so forth. So
Mhm, mhm.
it's the
Yeah,
problem
because-
in North Park is everything is in silos and no one knows what the other silo is doing. And if we can avoid that and have the
Yes.
interaction between the groups, that helps all of us.
Did you guys know that the activities committee had been hosting all summer nature walks? That was I had no idea. Deb Sagan's been doing it.
Yeah, if you get their, I guess, the Facebook feed and the Instagram posts,
Mhm.
I see all of that.
It's also on McMail.
Yeah,
McMail
I saw
well,
it
yeah.
on the-
Yeah. I'm a little, believe it or not, unplugged when it comes to what's going on in the town. I've got to get better about that, but I
yeah,
agree. Yeah, we need to know so maybe Jack, you know how you give us a report at the end of each meeting about what's going on with council? Could you potentially include in that what the different committees are doing? If to the extent that I don't know, maybe council's not.
I'll
The
make it an
best.
effort to have conversations with the various liaisons to find out, pick their heads.
At least a little bit might be, some of the bigger
Right.
projects at least.
And one other item that Kim Zachary mentioned to me last night, just talking about volunteers, I guess she said Sandy at the town and Dawn Hart have the list of volunteers. So does the town actually have a volunteer list, or is that,
So that's purely the AAC's volunteer list.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay,
And they are looking for things to do. So,
okay. So once we get in with the activities committee, they should,
I
be
would say
able to
so, yeah, to see if they
focus in
would
with
be
those.
interested in participating in anything we have this point, because it's
okay,
been collecting it for a while, and now they're doing a lot more activities, so they can actually come into use now.
okay.
Can I go back and make a comment about something else I wanted to touch on? This doesn't really have to do with the project, but Ken made a good point. When I had been talking to that lady out in the eastern part of the state about the litter cleanups that she was doing, one of the things that she had suggested was she wasn't actually on her local EAC. She worked with her local EAC, but they had a friends of or litter getter kind of group on Facebook. And what would happen is they would work with the EAC to promote their events, but because they had their own like little friends of group, they were able to take control of advertising on their own on Facebook, but then also with networking with others. And she said that was really how she was able to grow their volunteer base, because by using hashtags and things like that, they were able to really focus their advertising to people that were already interested in those activities. And that has really helped increase their volunteership versus just doing like, general ask for residents on a particular date. You always get just a handful of folks. So that, for Wall Park and maybe even for the rain garden at the Heritage Center, those might be great ideas to have those small friends of groups that can manage the social media and the
Right.
networking.
Dawn, just another item, in terms of your project form,
Yes.
and Jack mentioned that, public works might be taxed pretty heavily at this point, but, let's say we get the rain gardens cleared out, you're gonna need mulch or something put down afterwards, or not?
No, I don't think we're really in a position yet. We got to finish getting it cleared, because honestly, Dave, when I was certain small patches that I've made some significant headway in, it's really nice. There's a lot of infrastructure there that we weren't seeing before. There's some,
Okay,
it's not riprap, but like rock bedding, where we wouldn't want to plant stuff. It was so covered up by weeds that you couldn't tell that there was a rock. I don't know, maybe it's 2 to 3 feet deep. I'm not sure exactly. And then there's really nice soil, but if we're going to do anything, I think we're going to do plantings, and we can, that's in the future, I think. So I think we got to get it clean first and then come
Right.
up with a plan for any sort of infrastructure that we want to add to, or just having a maintenance plan going forward to keep it from getting to this point. If we had volunteers in there early on with weed whackers early in the season, once we get it all cleaned out, like we're gonna have sections where you have chunks of thistle that could be like whacked down low and things like that. It'll be easier to maintain. In other words, once we get it cleaned and know exactly what we've got in there.
right. Yeah. I'd kind of forgotten that you had done a kind of this test area and were maybe a little surprised with what you found underneath
I was impressed. Yeah.
all the weeds. So, yeah, it's a good point.
All right. Thank you very much. Great effort. Appreciate that. Look forward to participating in those. Okay, next item up, Wall Park Trail update. Just quick thank you to Ken and Jack and you folks for leading some tours through there. I guess, Tony, you got to go on one as well. So that was.
Yeah, Jack and Ken were gracious enough to take me individually. I had a private tour.
Oh, you're special.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I think the vision is great. I think Jack has a good vision, and also for kind of connecting a few different neighborhoods and a few different trails. And yeah, I really like the way they thought through it. So I'm on board to help in any way. Yeah.
Okay, so any updates you guys can give?
I think Jack probably is more coordinating there as far as talking with the township engineer and with the sewer authority and all of that. Some of that I'm not as informed of. So I'm gonna kind of toss it your way a little bit on that, Jack.
Okay, well, I've got the commitment of both organizations. Now it's a matter of timing. Right now is the busy season for both of them.
Right.
The town just did get a new fantastic piece of equipment that they can use to clean property. It's actually designed to, it's a robot, and it's a grass cutter, and it does real steep hillsides.
Mhm.
So it's designed to clean out our retention ponds. So hopefully we can enable that a little bit on our trail, and maybe also get MTSA to get in there with a brush hog. The other part of what I've learned since we last met is I did find out someone internally within the state that had worked on our particular grant
Mhm.
and found out why the wall grant wasn't successful. And the reason it wasn't successful was because it wasn't specific enough. It was for trails. So we ended up having a much more broader competitive environment. But
Okay.
by us being able to make it a more generalized and more specific request, then it will go back to regional monies, and we'll have a much higher success rate in being able to achieve our goal of attracting dollars.
Okay.
With that said, in my town update, I was going to talk about our new town manager, but our new town manager actually worked in 2 legislators' offices. So
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to working with him as well to help bring in some monies to help us in our endeavor. But at this point, we're moving forward with or without money, and we'll figure out the best trail we can get until, even if we have to jump over creeks here and there,
Right, right.
we'll get something going this fall, and by winter, people will be walking on it.
Awesome.
And that's, if we have a pretty good idea of how we want to structure the trail going up through there and the areas that we want to avoid. But it's a matter of being able to coordinate with the sanitary authority and with the equipment to get all of that stuff moving along.
I have a commitment that somebody from the I don't know, there's so many letters.
DP.
DEP or one of those agencies is supposed to come over and walk it with me to
Okay.
get us, as much as I just want to go do it. I realize now I'm no longer a citizen. I can't just do what I want. I have to do it the right way. So it'll be done the right way. And we're going to engage some state officials to make sure that we're not doing anything that would
Right.
tarnish our reputation.
I just want to second that. It's from my perspective, getting out there with a dozen people, you can build that trail, but because of all the different requirements and things, you can't do that. And what we're looking at is the base trail. There's a whole lot of stuff we can do with this after we have the base trail in, to really make it a nature experience out there. I envision basically getting into a nature trail and all of that type of thing with signage and all of that. And opportunities for people to plant trees and dig up invasive species and all of that, trying to make it something that the community can be involved in. And so that's why I really latched onto the idea of, Friends of Wall Park. But that's not something that is in my ballpark of abilities to do to form a group like that. So
By the way, might benefit all to go in and Google Swarthmore Trails out in Philadelphia, out in Media, PA, Swarthmore, PA. They have essentially what I envision having at Wall Park. They have a series of trails through a much smaller piece of property than we have, but it's very robust and very well used and utilized by the committee with good signage. And I think that'd be a really good model for us if anybody wants to kind of see what I'm thinking. That's a really good way to articulate it by checking that website out.
Are you guys familiar, Jack, are you familiar with the Fern Hollow Nature Center? To me, I'm envisioning that Swarthmore is similar to that, because I'm hoping it is, because that's what I was visualizing in Wall Park when we were doing our walkthrough. But yeah, that there's like, and sort of like up at the Latotomy field up above the Latotomy barn at North Park, where it's this big, huge meadow that's got mowed trails through it. And periodically there's signage and QR codes and certain plantings and areas to stop and smell the roses and such. You guys familiar with Fern Hollow or no?
I've heard of it, but I'm not
I've-
exactly
I've
sure.
only been down in there once.
Is that down off
It's
outside of North
Swickley.
Park?
Yeah,
No, it's
it's
kind of
Swickley.
Mm.
I'm trying
Oh,
to pull
it's-
something up here now. I'm gonna pull up the Swarthmore too if
Is that
I
the
can.
one
I'll
that-
share my screen.
Down by the field club?
Is
Yes.
that spring?
No,
Down by the field club.
down by the field club in Fox Chapel.
Yes.
But Frick Park has a nice trail
I was
through it
thinking,
too.
I was thinking. Frick
Yeah.
Park.
Mhm.
What is
Yeah,
the-
so I'm sure we're all probably thinking of a similar type
Right.
aesthetic.
Mhm.
Well, the one at Swarthmore has a big
Okay.
sign and it shows the map and it explains things before you walk on the trail.
Yeah, I took a quick look at it, Jack. It looks like they have, they're using All Trails app, which is interesting. And it looks like they have some connection to the signage maybe through the app. It would be
Through
interesting.
QR codes maybe, or,
That's what I don't see any images, but that's what I'm kind of envisioning. It can, Ken was mentioning some signage. It would be pretty neat if we had some QR codes with further information on
Mhm.
that signage, right? Yeah. Even like
That's-
going to a short
seems to
video,
be-
like,
That seems to be the way most of the signage and thing is being done now, that you can, those QR images onto your cell phone and that'll give you more information. You're bringing back memories with some of these things. My one good buddy was the director of Frick Park for a lot of years, and I helped put some of those trails in and so forth. So there's a lot that we can do out there. It's just a matter of you need to have a base trail to get access for people to, before you can start really expanding it.
it might be interesting if we were able to, I don't know if we put park benches or even the signs themselves and had donations that would purchase those items. So that would get the community involved too, have some ownership.
Mhm.
So that's where we are for right now until we get a little more feedback on some of this stuff. So
That sounds like something else we can pursue with the activities committee and these volunteer lists and
Yeah.
maybe that's the direction we start going to try and
Yeah.
get our friends in ballpark.
I really think forming these Friends of North Park is the umbrella, and then having different groups within that, within the Friends of Wall Park doing different things.
Yeah. Okay.
Are there any like neighborhood associations down in that area or?
Neighborhood on each side of the valley and a couple of independent ones, but I'm not sure if there is or not.
I'll check into the
They're
HOAs.
formal or
Good
not?
idea.
Because
I
you're
can tell you, at the one side, there's not, because that's the neighborhood I live in, and there's no formal HOA here. That's the Breezewood neighborhood.
Yeah, there you go. I think
Which side is that, Matt? The Sloop Road side or the Rochester Road side or?
It's the Sloop Road side, I guess you would call it.
Okay.
How about you, Tony? Aren't you on the other side?
I'm up the hill away, so I'm up behind St. John Newman. But yeah, there's no HOA or anything where we are. That might be a little further away.
Yeah, I think the other side across from us is Franklin Town. Is that where you are?
Right. I mean, you're close to Franklin Park first also, so.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, we can have friends from Franklin Park, they can use it.
Yeah, for sure. Just charge them for parking.
Right.
There you go, I like that idea. Don, is that Pine Creek behind you?
Are you crazy? That's the ocean.
Well, after the rain last week, I thought it was right.
Yeah.
All right, any other ballpark questions? Sounds like we're moving right along.
Keep pushing it.
Making progress.
That's great. Very good. And thanks for getting that information, Jack, on the grant, because that helps us out a lot. So we don't keep spinning our wheels and doing the same thing. Thanks.
When you do the same thing, you get the same result.
Right,
Yes.
right. Okay, next up is the North Hills EAC event. That is set for August the 22nd. We'll be meeting at 7 o'clock at the Devlin Pavilion right here behind Town Hall. I have it set up tentatively 7 to 9. One small unfortunate detail, the permit for the pavilion does not allow us to have any fun beverages. So we've got to go got to go with water and sodas this time around, and maybe find another location for the next one. But
Date and timing.
I'm gonna bring my own
sorry,
container.
it's the 22nd of this month at 7 o'clock.
Monday night.
That's a Monday night. Thank you. So my thoughts at this point are, I'm not doing any major food, just some refreshments, some munchies type thing. I mean, all I had on my mind was, veggie platters, cookie platters, stuff from Sam's or Giant Eagle. If anybody else has any other thoughts or something they think would be better at this point, I just wanted to keep it fairly simple. But if you have any other,
No, I think
ideas.
that's good. We don't need to
and I'll try and get I'm going to check back in with the other folks and get a head count, so we have an approximate idea of how many. This was Jack, we were thinking we may have 20, 24 people, probably at the most. If we have decent help from the other organizations, and hopefully we will. So, like I said, any other thoughts or ideas on that, please feel free to share. But it shouldn't be that much work. I know, John, we had talked about you getting some name tags maybe from you. If there anything else administrative you think we need.
I don't know. Yeah. Andy. But yeah, I can definitely make name tags for one by name tags.
Yeah, I just figured once to fill out, having to sit there on the table with the Sharpie and put our name and organization. And then, no real agenda, but I would like to have a few moments, obviously, to go around and share who we are and the folks in attendance. And I know, Dave, you had some ideas or two, certainly some discussion points, whether we go one-on-one or whether we actually have some group discussions. We'll, kind of see how it goes. If you have any thoughts or ideas there, please share. So just our first stab at this. I really plan to make it more social than business.
I know one thing I'm interested in finding out from the other EACs is what they do at their community days in their booth. Both, just what kind of educational material are they offering, what kind of giveaway. I'd just be curious to hear their ideas.
And that's a good question. I mean, that's a good idea. All of you that come with a couple of questions like that. And we don't even necessarily have to address them to the group, but they're talking points, obviously, as we talk one-on-one, small groups, however we break it up.
Do we want to have like a sign-in sheet with people give their email address? And
Well,
then
that'd be great.
distribute that afterwards, so in
Oh,
case
yeah.
you
Oh, yeah.
were talking to Joe from Pine and he had some ideas, at least you know how to contact him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that's definitely sign and sheet and the name tags. Because it's harder than you think just to get the email addresses for all of the the chairs, because nobody's website has contact information. So then I'd have to email the town secretary or whatever, and in most cases, they wouldn't give me the information. They'd send my information to them and I had to wait for them to get back to me. And but I've already got a nice little database with everybody that I've
Right.
contacted. So, because I don't want to lose those, they're hard to get.
Yeah, so I think we asked, the leader or so of each to give 2 or 3 minutes about what they do or introduce their folks, and then just have it kind of open and mingle, I guess, or I don't think it's not going to break into anything.
Yeah,
formal.
I really don't want to turn it into a meeting.
Right,
I build it as a meet and greet, so I think you're right, though. We should each have a little introduction of ourselves and a little bit of what we do, maybe what our major projects are. And then I would prefer to kind of break out and talk to folks more one-on-one. That's my thought. So any ideas anybody has, please feel free to share.
An idea, that would
Yeah.
be, maybe we get the town to make us name tags,
You know what? I actually have one.
official town name tag.
Mhm.
Do you? Do you?
I don't have one.
No,
that I
because
know
it's
of.
probably from,
I can make some.
Early on, yeah.
that'd be great. Thank you,
I
John.
have one, but it doesn't say EAC.
Yeah, it's just a paper one in the little holder, and it
Mhm.
has this town seal and,
Okay.
okay.
Judy, what other communities are coming? Can you refresh my memory?
Oh, yeah, I can share that. We have Ross and Hampton, Franklin Park and Pine.
Awesome. I love the idea of just at least introducing some of the major initiatives, because I think it would be helpful for us to, generate other ideas and maybe find
And-
ways of collaboration.
Well, and I think what I'd
from
like
there.
to do too, for everyone that's there, and I hope everybody can make it, is each one of you can talk briefly about the project you work on. There's no reason for me to summarize your projects
Right.
if you're there.
Yeah.
So, and then just keep it super brief and basically saying if anybody else would like to talk more about it, let's go talk. And so that's great. And I think it had also been mentioned to me, maybe for future ones, we can talk to Cranberry. I believe they have one. And Jack, I did try and contact Chris from Bell Acres.
Mhm.
He never returned my call.
I left a message too, and then
Okay. So I just want to let you know, I
Thanks.
did try and reach out and get him involved as
it'd
well.
be nice to invite him to this.
Sure.
But
Sure.
if he doesn't return calls, it's hard to do.
Something
So
that
I-
just occurred to me that might come out of this meet and greet is it might be a good opportunities for us to identify people that we could rope into coming and being part of our speaker series. I'm gonna
Mhm.
guess that some of these other EACs would want to have Tony come and talk to them about solar for their residents, and so maybe as you're chatting people up while we're there at the meet and greet, everybody keep that in mind. Is there anybody with some expertise that we could tag to
Sure.
the speaker series for it?
Yeah, great idea, Don. We could almost have like, if everyone had a speaker or two, we could almost have a rotation.
I mean, right? That and like, so we're
Yeah.
sharing the work, like instead of us going out and finding all these. Same thing, I
Right.
would love to know how they recruit their volunteers for the events they have, and to the extent that we can,
Mhm.
share those resources and maybe even go at some of these groups where it's like one EAC contacting them about a bunch of activities versus like all of us going at all the groups,
Mhm.
a little more focused attack for volunteers.
Yeah, just keep those ideas, write them down, bring them with you. There's tons we can find to talk about, I'm sure. And if we have that much to do, then maybe it's an opportunity for us to do another one and have one of the other groups set it up. But this is not hard to do, so happy to do it. All right, thank you very much for the feedback. I appreciate it. Next up, just a I guess a quick recap of the recycling facility tour. Dave and Tony, anything to add?
I have really big news.
Yeah?
Recycling does actually get recycled. That's what we found out. It's not,
Hey,
it's not a made up unicorn or something. Yeah. So no, I'm being silly there, but obviously we've had discussions. Some people don't think that recycling goes actually to recycling. So one of the coolest things actually, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think they said since basically China had reduced their intake of recycling, they've really looked for domestic sources to sell their product. So I think she said all or nearly all of their recycled materials end up in the US being recycled. And she talked about a facility, and I can't remember, I want to say it was paper recycling, but it was in West Virginia, real close by. So sounds like the recycling, the whole recycling process has kind of become geographically closer, let's say. So that's great news. As far as, we had a couple things that we chatted about. We had a few pictures from the Neville Island waste management facility. We talked about some specifics. So we talked about, I actually didn't know this, but when you're recycling paper, she said to have paper that's at least about half of a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper or larger. Little receipts and things don't really make it into recycling.
Oh, really? Okay, so I read your email thinking it was the other way, that they should be smaller. Okay, so they have to be 8.5 or larger.
Yeah.
Okay,
to be
No
recycled.
smaller than half a sheet.
yeah, okay, half a sheet.
What's he saying?
He's saying any paper that's smaller than half of an 8.5 by 11 sheet doesn't really recycle. Is that correct? Does it not work in their equipment or?
Right.
What
Yeah,
happens
just
when you
because-
bag a shredder?
Good question.
Yeah, that didn't really come up that didn't come up this trip. The last time we were here, last time we were there a few years ago, I remember there was like a pile of bags of shredded paper that they had kind of separated out. If it's just loose,
Right.
it doesn't get,
No, I use
doesn't
the
get-
white or the clear plastic and I bundle it,
right.
but if he says they're not using it, at the same time, I throw letters in there all the time.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I think
Are
what
they not recycled?
I think what she was alluding to was the single stream recycling, where it's separating out from the plastics and whatever.
Okay.
Metals and stuff. The smaller pieces of paper just basically get kind of thrown into the landfill. I'm assuming that a large quantity of paper would be treated a little bit differently, like Dave was alluding to, but I'm not 100% on that. Yeah, so one thing, you mentioned the envelopes, and you can imagine envelopes have that little, I don't know if it's cellophane plastic or something. And she said that those shouldn't be recycled. I guess maybe the plastic will contaminate the paper or something like that.
Huh. Or take the little plastic out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe you can get that, but then you have, I don't know. Then you're getting to the size of the paper. I'm not sure. So yeah, that's a good point. The one thing they also mentioned, and this took me by surprise, we can recycle 1 and 2 plastics, but she said if it is a larger container with a lid, you can recycle 5 plastic as well. Is that polypropylene, I believe? Yeah, so she said you can recycle 5s as long as it's a larger jug with a lid. So like smaller yogurt containers, she said that would probably just make its way to landfill. But the larger
Is it just something that separates out easier if it's larger? Is that the deal?
good question. I don't know. Do you remember that, David? I don't remember
I don't. Are you talking about the cat litter containers that were there? There was
I
a
know, that's
whole,
what I'm,
there was a whole sectioned off area of cat litter containers.
Yeah.
I don't know if those are 5s or if they were just separated out because they were.
Yes, she was talking about things like, like a larger cottage cheese container with the lid on it is what she said. They consider those
okay.
a jug, I think is what she was calling it. But anyway, yeah, so the larger containers of the number 5 plastics are acceptable. Although that's not, as far as I know, that's not in any print anywhere. So
Yeah.
that was new news to me.
Well, this, it kind of brings up a point that it is confusing,
Yes.
even when you're there talking to her. Plastic, paper, aluminum and tin cans, you know, the numbering. So what we were hoping to do, for one, she has some public information that she can, or information that's geared toward the public, that we can provide. And I was hoping to get that together for the tips, the McMail tips at the end of the month. There's also a link. She was talking about a link to a film or a video that they have that talks about the new, you know, the new world of recycling and that kind of thing. But so hopefully we'll get kind of a clearer message from this information that Erica is going to provide us. And
If you include that in McMail, is there any chance you can put in a link? So people could then link
Oh, yeah.
down to them and
Right.
get additional information?
I also think we should throw the link to the video and any written material she gives us up on McCandless and me as, you know, we should build a little recycling facts for residents or something and resources.
We
or
have one of
something.
the highest rated communities in the state of Pennsylvania for recycling. So I think something like that would be exceedingly well received by our community. They're looking for knowledge about this.
Mhm.
Yeah, one thing David mentioned, it was very obvious that the rules for this recycling has changed quite a bit in the last 5 years. And I'm not sure if it was the sort of switch to domestic recycling, or maybe it's just, she was talking a little bit about, you know, raw material pricing and things like that. So yeah, but the rules have changed quite a bit, obviously, as we see with the 1s and 2s kind of only being accepted now. So that's the other tricky part. You know, by the time you get the information out there, it's hard to know whether the rules have changed a bit. So I like the idea of putting the website, at least if someone clicks on that, I'm assuming Waste Management would have an updated you know, list of acceptables.
Oh, and we should hand out the whatever written material she gives us at our community day booth. Something to think about.
But make sure that whatever paper it's on is bigger than half a sheet and be recycled.
No plastic windows.
Right.
yeah, it's like, you know, I'm Mr. Recycle at home and I'm doing a lot of things wrong.
I
I
know.
found out about the paper size and you're nuts, let's say a soup can, it's better to leave a little bit of the lid attached so that it
Oh.
stays attached to the can. So it, you know, it's like
Oh, they like it
Like
better.
that,
Okay.
rather than a loose top,
Mhm.
even if you put it in the
Yeah.
bottom and squeeze
Yeah,
the
that's what I do.
the can, it still might come out, and that's, you know, so that
Okay.
lid may not get recycled, but if it's still attached, it's probably gonna stay with the can.
Well, that's a good point. I've always wondered about the.
Yeah, me
lids.
too.
Yeah.
You know, even though there's still a lot
Lids
of,
on plastic containers, there's no problems at all. The labels on plastic containers, no problems.
How about the milk cartons that have the little plastic
Throw them away,
from away? But you can throw the plastic
right?
piece in.
we might help with domestic disputes too, because I know here at my house, you know, there's 2 different philosophies of what the recycling things are. So there's a lot of disputes around
You have to
recycling.
have a social worker for the environmental committee.
Well, I still take all of my paper to the Abitibi dumpster.
Oh,
I still
okay.
don't throw anything in any newspaper in the McCandless recycling, so. And on those dumpsters, the only thing it says is they don't want no cardboard and no phone books, so. I don't know.
All
That's,
of the
but
paper circulars. And
yeah,
all that
I
good
assume
stuff.
they take everything else, I
Right,
don't
right.
know.
Okay.
Anyway, so, maybe action item for John is to connect with Erica and get some of this information that she was talking about. She was talking about some kind of, information that's suitable for for public distribution, and a link to some kind of video that she has also. And I'd like to use that to create the tips, also with some data on how the town is doing on recycling. Be cool. Okay.
Okay.
You brought up phone books. I wonder if somebody brought up HOAs. Wonder if we could send a letter to all the HOAs telling them that there is a website that homeowners can go to register to not receive
Right.
phone books.
I feel like we've posted that in our tips before.
Yeah, I don't know when.
That the HOAs could send it out in their newsletters, my point,
Right.
because I don't know how many people read McMill or not. John, do we have a list of HOAs? And
I think zoning may have some, maybe code enforcement.
could you run that by RJ?
Sure.
Thank you.
When is phone book delivering
I
season?
don't know, I haven't
Is it the
gotten
fall
one
or
for
is
so
it the
long, but
No, I haven't either.
it's because of you guys that educated me that I could do that.
The opt-out seems to finally be working, or they're just giving up because so many
Yeah.
people have opted out. I don't know.
We'll watch go out tomorrow.
I know. We'll get
They'll
it.
be all over the
To
neighborhood.
reveal the crowd.
Oh, they must do it. I think it's usually like wintry months, because I think
Yeah, some of them were sitting in the snow for a
Yeah.
while, and we picked them up on the spring cleanup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. I remember.
Then there's also people that don't get a phone book and then complain because they don't get a phone book, so. Those folks are dying off every year, but anyway. There's always two sides to it.
No, thanks for the information, and thanks again, John, for setting that up. Hopefully I'll make another one of these days. All right, next up, fall litter cleanup. Dave.
All right, try to be short. We have picked dates. Saturday, we generally go for the middle of October for the fall cleanup, Saturday, October 15th and Saturday, October 22nd. We're gonna do it two Saturdays in a row again. Last time since COVID, after COVID, we've been at about 30 to 40 volunteers. With 30 and 40 volunteers, that's not enough people to cover the areas that we need to do. So we're trying to do 2 dates. Also going to try an earlier start this year. Instead of heading out at 10, try to head out at 9 o'clock. So kind of a meet at 8:30, head out at 9 o'clock. What I call the Litter Getter Executive Committee, which is myself, Lynn, Kathy, and Jeff. We're meeting next week at Lynn's house to talk about some of the details and plan it. That's open to anyone. If anybody's got an interest in litter, organizing the event, anything like that, just get in touch with me and I'll give you the details. It's next Wednesday night, the 17th. We're going to try to put together a flyer with a sign-up sheet for Community Day. I'd like to not advertise those days until we meet next week with Lynn and Kathy and Jeff and just make sure everything's cool with that. But those are the days that we're looking at. The litter cleanup goes on probably 9 or 10 months a year. Either Kathy, Lynn, myself, and Jeff are out there normally on a Saturday morning, 6:30 to 8 o'clock or so. We target certain areas. May, June, July, and August, we've picked up 76 bags of litter. Those are all areas that were picked up in the spring, it comes back. So if anybody wants a good cardio workout and sweat a lot, picking up litter in the summer with the humidity, it's not it's not actually very hot at that point, but the humidity can get you. It's a good workout. Our, what we call our bag total, since we started the spring of 2018, we're up at 1,690 bags of litter that we've picked up in McCandless. So we're with the fall event, we're probably gonna get close to 2,000 bags of litter in the whatever 5 years that we've been doing this. Senator Williams' office sent out a notice to us. Wolf administration calls on Pennsylvanians to fight dirty. They've got a new anti-littering campaign going on. And it involves the DEP, DCED, PennDOT, Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful, KPB, several of these agencies trying to work together to focus on litter cleanup and prevention. One of the items in the new litter campaign is what's called a Young Ambassador program. This is a program for high school kids to apply for. It goes from this September through next May. They do some virtual orientation, virtual education training, networking events, organizing and participating in community cleanups, conducting community education, and involving other students, that kind of thing. So I sent this on to Jeremy Rack at Key Club if any of the high school kids are interested in that. It's the application, it needs to be in by September 15th, but if there's any high school kids out there or NAI or high school or Nash that are interested in that, it would probably look very good on a resume. But we'll see if any of the kids bite for that. I said that we would support that effort any way that we could. Didn't really get approval for that, but I know our little group will.
Whose effort is that, Dave? I missed who's offering that for,
I'm sorry?
who's offering that program? I missed
It's
who.
through Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful, KPB. And
Are they the ones that have the website for Adopt a Highway and sort of, all right? They have a website, I believe.
yeah, they have a website. They have you apply and record your information through that Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful website. Yes, for the Adopt a Highway information efforts that you put in. So that's a little bit on litter pickup. We've got some time. It's not till October, so we'll talk about more of that. Talk more about that in the September meeting, I think.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. Okay, next item on the agenda are various community outreach opportunities. Tony, do you have an update on our speaker series event in September?
Yeah, I don't have much of an update. I've reached out to David Sanchez a couple times here, and I think he's still working on putting together a brief description for Katie from Katie Coleman, I believe. Yeah, so I have a meeting with him tomorrow morning.
Okay,
A different subject, but I'll definitely bring it up and see where he stands on that. I know we have to get some promotional materials out very soon, so I'll give him a push there.
do we have a
yeah.
title for it? Do you
I know
know?
it'll have something to do with water resources, but I'm not sure what title he's going to choose there. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll talk to him tomorrow morning about it.
Okay, yeah, let me know when you have something, and obviously we'll go through Katie and start getting that out.
Yeah, we'll do. Sounds
But
good.
he's still good with the date, the 22nd.
Yeah, yeah, he's good with that. I have it on his calendar, so yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. NAEC programs. There is one. John went ahead and publicized for them. They are doing a program on what is it, pollinator gardens, and how to, I guess, grow a beautiful pollinator garden, something that's neater than a lot of people think of, something that when it's very natural, it looks like weeds. But they're going to have a tour of their demonstration pollinator garden in North Park. Unfortunately, that's on August the 22nd, the same time as our our EAC program. So it's not something I could attend or that we could attend, but we have helped them publicize it. And that's really all I have as far as their programs lately. I did attend the North Hills Art Center's All Bottled Up art show opening. That was, I guess 2 weeks ago Saturday. I don't think Kim Breathaler, who's the director of the art center, was I think a little underwhelmed in the participation with this one. It wasn't as well, there wasn't as much artwork submitted, and unfortunately sounds like she didn't get responses from any of the other EACs she reached out to help with publicity or anything else. She said she heard nothing, but I think she was very pleased that I came. And it was, the artwork is just always amazing. It just always blows my mind, how creative folks can be and how professional some of these works are. One thought I had as to why they didn't have quite the same participation. I know that the first inaugural one that was actually done through our EAC in 2019, I think was geared more at kids as well. And I think it was advertised more. I think Deanna was able to get it out to some scout troops and kids groups over the summer. So there was more kid related artwork. And this one, even the publicity materials made everything look very professional. So that was the only thing I shared with her that I thought maybe was different and maybe impacted the participation. But if you have a chance to stop by the North Hills Art Center, I think it was supposed to be up for 3 weeks, I believe. Interesting to see the work. Some of it's jewelry, some of it's sculptures, some of it's multimedia picture type things. So
I think Deanna was able to either coordinate or work through the art teachers in the schools also
maybe.
to, because it wasn't a summer event. It wasn't a,
It was,
it wasn't
but
a
I
summer?
think they collected them all summer. And because the actual event, I think, was early August is
Oh,
when they had
okay.
the show.
Okay.
But she started working with it back in April or May. And I think it was, but I think you're right. I think it was advertised all summer long and through the town. And we actually displayed
Oh, yeah.
all the winning artwork
Yep.
in town hall. And we had it, I think, on display at Community Day. But that's because it was our project and we spearheaded that. So anyhow, I'll keep in touch with her and see if she does this in the future, what else we can do to help and get some other groups involved. But this one came up a little fast, and she didn't
Yeah, I was
really
gonna
ask us for any
say,
help other than publicity.
I didn't understand what the ask was, and they didn't give us a lot of lead time, so I was sort of not
Right,
really sure what we were supposed to do.
right. So I have a feeling it went kind of to their art class students. And those are the ones that submitted on it.
Now, Judy, is there an opportunity for community members to sell their art there during these, are these art pieces for sale?
Well, I know when they have these shows, you can offer them for sale. Some of them were. They had price tags, and then others would just say for a $50 donation to the art center, this is yours. So yeah, when they have these shows, you do have the opportunity to sell your artwork.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Outside of a show, I don't know. I could certainly put you in touch with Kim if you had questions.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. Thanks.
Mhm. All right, next, Community Day. I guess, John, you were just gonna kind of go over briefly what we can do with that again. I know we've discussed it and,
Yeah.
and I keep forgetting, so.
So Community Day is a little bit different this year. Obviously, it's been different the last couple of years too, but that's beside the point. It's gonna be 4 to 8 PM on September 10th. They are not gonna be community booths this year because of the construction taking place in the courts down here, which is where most of the booths are. But there is gonna be a town informational booth. It's gonna be somewhere down there. And presumably EAC can put some of their stuff down there. There's no need to volunteer or man it at this point. Because there probably just wouldn't be enough room for everyone in there. There may be a couple people from the town representing down there, but that's it. So we want to gather up some new material, gather up some older material, or even do the whole QR code thing and post it online. That would be fine. There would definitely be room for that, but probably no need for volunteers.
Okay.
And just so you know, the tennis courts are gonna appear to be done and look great, but they have a curing period
Okay,
that they can't be used or walked on, so. they're
it's
off
gonna be
limits.
hard to keep those locked up.
It'll be hard, people want to use.
Okay, so I think last time we talked, you seemed to think we had materials still from past events.
I mean, we have printouts, we have giveaways too, but we just, if no one's gonna be there, we may not have to go through the giveaways right now.
Right.
We may want to save that maybe for Winterfest. I
Yeah,
think there's gonna be a lot more flexibility.
okay. And think we can actually have our own table and
Probably something like
interact
that. I
with
mean, it's pretty-
folks.
I wouldn't want to say it was loosey goosey, but it was the first time last year and everyone's having a good time. So I think there's a lot of flexibility there for what we can do.
Right, but in this time, there's just no room.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. What are everyone's thoughts? Do we try and put anything together? Do we think to me, if we don't have somebody there kind of explaining what we do,
Exactly.
is it just paper?
It would probably be paper, yeah. Someone could whoever's volunteering, probably someone from the town or someone from staff would say, yeah, EAC meets, the second Wednesday of each month. Here's some of their stuff.
Yeah,
Which would be similar, it'd be like having maps out there, or other general handouts, cycling books.
Didn't we talk about maybe getting like a big foam core board and, at least putting a couple 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper on there that sort of identify, with either information for residents or information about some of our projects with a little QR code that hopefully takes them to McCandless and me where they can get more information about that. But, just in what we talked about tonight, if we're able to provide people with those recycling resources, that would be a nice little square on the poster board. And then I have a lot of literature about invasive plants and native plants that we can add to the board that I'm going to use for the rain garden workshop. Maybe Dave could put this together, something about the litter cleanups, what we've done, what we're doing. And I'm sort of seeing those as like just this board that people can QR code, and then nobody has to be there, but we're still getting the word out about things that we're doing. And
do you think how much room do you think they'd give us to put
I'm
something?
thinking they're
up?
probably gonna do tables on 3 sides, so there probably should be room for something like that. And if not, we can always work that out.
I'm happy to put the board together and make it look nice. If you all can help feed me with the information, Tony, if you have something like a handout about solar for residents, I think that would be awesome. Maybe we want to think of, well, yeah, I don't want to get ahead of us. So just some stuff like that, anything, whatever we have, we could get it up on McCandless and me and then just slapping it, a piece of paper on this board.
That's going to be September the 10th. So that's before our next meeting. So we will not have another meeting before then. So, okay.
So, how about if people get me their information, really, I'll have the board won't be hard to put together. It's just rather
Okay.
not we have the information.
Right. And I told you I'd look at my board supplies at work.
That would
I
be
didn't
great.
do that, so I will do that.
So Don, just to clarify, you're just saying to have something that either a link or a QR code that will send them to a place that has the information on these various projects and things like that, not to have printed out stuff that people will be picking up and taking with them. Is that right?
Well, we can have a little bit of a mixture. If we have some stuff that is already nice for that, I wouldn't want to say we can't include it because it doesn't fit on this board, but yeah, like, just a different sheet that sort of gives some bullet points about what the projects are we're working on, and then your QR code to go and get more information, like, to get more information about what the current recycling rules are, and to see a video about, modern recycling, go here, to get a list of invasive plants and native plants and information about rain gardens, click here, QR code here, that kind of thing. Yeah. So
And
I'm talking like a big board with, an 8.5 by 11 sheet, another 8.5 by 11 sheet, another 8.5 by 11, like 3 or 4 of those on the board and in an attractive way.
I wonder if it's better to just do, if we could create be it a Google document or on a particular website that we have access to or something, access to all of those things, and then one link that takes them there, interested in finding out what the EAC is up to, or what's the EAC, like just an information. So then you can go home, you can scan that, and then you can go home and look through those things. Because I feel like it feels like this isn't going to be the type of thing where people are walking around. There's not going to be anybody to talk to there.
I like it.
If it's more of a like, let me collect that info and then I'll go look at it later, maybe we get more traction. I'm not sure. But then also we're not printing a bunch of stuff and giving stuff out and creating more
less
paper.
work too than making this like, little craft board. So
Yeah,
like
but I seem to think it would be more effective if we did at least highlight a couple of items on there to catch their attention. And just, even if it's just some blurbs about some things we do, and maybe we just do one code to make it simple. But I think rather than just having something as generic as what does EAC do, maybe we at least put some titles or some graphics on there, just so that maybe it catches somebody's attention.
I'm seeing a vision here. I'm seeing like 3 or 4 key projects, and then in the center, go here to learn more about what the EAC does and to find more resources for residents on these topics, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
Can you
Yeah.
put the dates on there of our cleanups?
Well, when you go in I think when you, yes.
But I mean, if you put town cleanup on their dates, at least
Right.
get
And-
them thinking that way.
And our speaker series as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good too, because then that way people will see it. And if they don't scan the thing, at least they have that info. And if they
Right.
do see it and say, oh, cleanup, well, I want to know more about that, then they're gonna find more information. But at least if they have that data in their mind and things like that. I
Studies
agree.
show that you have to hit people 3
Yes.
times before something will stick. So
Yes. So what do we want on the board? We want information about our speaker series. We want information about our litter cleanup program. Do we want to put a solar thing on there? Some bullet points, and then maybe recycling, and then everything else is available via the QR code? Does that sound good, or?
Sure.
I mean, I think that's good. I think even if you have major titles of things, right? So like town cleanup, date, speaker series featuring so-and-so date, and then solar projects, recycling, you know what I mean? Like prettier than this, obviously, but
Yeah.
but like, I don't know that it needs to be too bulleted or too much information, because once there's too much text on there, then people are just like,
Yeah.
I don't read
Well,
it
I
anymore."
had mentioned before about like doing like a word cloud. You guys know what I mean by a word cloud? And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I mean, at the very last minute, I was looking for an example and I didn't grab one. You guys know what I mean, though? I had already done one for the EAC in the shape of a tree, and it looked really cool with like our projects and various
Mhm.
fonts. And so maybe that's the background for our board, the word cloud with all the different things that we're doing in the shape of, looking, and then we've got the, a couple of little project documents, and then the QR code for more information.
you look like Jackie Chan when your hands move, because
Never heard that
the background thing makes them come in and out.
Never
Well,
been told that.
Is that something you have the, I guess, materials to do, or is that something, Matt, you can help with as well? I don't have artistic or graphic arts background. I can do things
Yeah.
technically in CAD, but when it comes to,
No. I'll recreate the word cloud and I'll send it out to y'all via email because we're not going to meet again before this event happens. So I'll send it out to y'all so you can see it. If you like it, we'll get that blown up and we'll mount it onto the foam core and then we'll put our
Mhm.
sheets on front of, I'll mock it up and email everybody. So we can still sort of continue the conversation.
That's
and
great. Your
Your
collaborate,
word
even
cloud
though-
is like, the more important things are larger and the,
yeah,
Yes, exactly.
because I've seen it done where you take a lot of data that comes in from a questionnaire.
mhm,
and the
Yes,
words
exactly.
that are, you know,
Yeah.
are large. and
Most
small.
common, yes.
yeah,
So like the litter cleanup's gonna be really, big and the, recycling and solar big and then some of our smaller,
yeah.
we'll throw in the names of our green spaces, Wall Park, Potter Park, Devlin Park, Festival Trail.
Mm-hmm. No, that all sounds great. But then we
Okay.
have to, make sure we get all the information in one place so this link goes somewhere.
Yes. And if we can't get it together in time, well, so what? We don't end up having a board there, I guess, but
But, well, it sounds like something there's enough different activities that we could use that once we get it established.
mhm,
That's something we can build off of. I think it's a great idea.
okay. All right, I'll put
Just
this,
make sure we all help and do our part.
I will, you all hold me to it. You should see an email from me by what's today, Wednesday? If you don't see an email from me by next Wednesday, someone feel free to
Okay.
poke me.
Who's taking up all the space down there? Vendors?
There's not gonna be any vendors down there. It's basically just gonna be different town info at that booth. So it's not, again.
So there's
no
one booth
outside
with
vendors
3
except
tables and that's the town information
Basically, yeah.
in the
There'll be
entire
other
parking
people
lot.
Probably like fire departments. I guess. Basically, we're not gonna have the booth vendors.
You have food trucks?
There's gonna be food trucks, there's gonna be the rides and such, but the acts, the musical acts, but it's not gonna be like the maze of booths with different businesses and such.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. Wow, that's great job, Dawn. Thanks. Any other community outreach items that I missed coming up? And we'll talk about Winterfest as we'll kind of see where we go with this and we'll work towards Winterfest in coming months. I just one other thing, they did have garden in the park. What was that? Almost 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
It was a very
31st, July 31st,
31st of July or the 30th.
30th, yeah.
Um,
Same day as that art show.
They started advertising it, I think about 2 weeks ahead of time. There was just a little sign that went up in Garden of the Park. I did stop by. It was
Oh.
3 hours. It was 10 to 1, I think, on that
Okay.
Saturday. And it was strictly, they still had all the master gardeners there. All
Right.
the Penn State stuff was there. The creamery was not there. There were no other organizations other than the master gardeners. So either they, intentionally downsized it or they just didn't have time to make it as large as it had gotten in the past.
Hmm.
Because we didn't hear about it. Ken, you didn't hear about it.
And I drove by and that you could see it was just master gardeners.
Yeah. And it was still nice. There were a lot of master gardeners there,
Mhm.
all very willing to talk and had some great conversations, learned a lot. So, but it's not like we missed anything. It wasn't out there for anybody else. So we'll try and keep up with that next year. Maybe they'll go bigger and we can set up a booth again. All right, miscellaneous. All I have is McMail tips for this month. Dave is going to do those for us. And anybody have any other topics we need to bring up for next month's meeting that we need to put on the agenda? Once again, reminder, and I'll try and bug you about a week before the meeting, before I put the agenda together. I'll try and nudge everybody on your projects. Let me know if you have any updates. And next, report from town council. Jack, anything left?
We have a new town manager, Brian O'Malley. He starts August 29th. And that's not quick enough for poor Tricia, who stepped up to the plate
Yeah.
and did a great job holding things together until we we got the new manager. So kudos to her, as well as all the different department heads that held their departments together in the interim. Saved the town a lot of money. And I think we got what we really wanted. I think we have an excellent town manager and a real opportunity to help grow our community. We had National Night Out since our last meeting, and that was a huge success. I'm glad they continued to do that. It was their second year, and they had food trucks and vendors, and it was a very nice event. Did anybody get a chance to go?
I was okay with that.
You
I
really
drove
should check it out.
past, it was well attended.
It really was.
I was watching it on Facebook Live. It's very entertaining.
Um, Let's see, community days, we talked about that. There's really not a whole lot more to report, so that's it.
Thank you, Jack. And I know at some point we had members of the public on. Do we still have anybody?
There's one.
Any public comments? No? Okay, well, thanks for attending. Love to see some other folks at our meetings this month. Appreciate that. All right, other than that, if we have nothing else, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion we adjourn.
We have a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
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 All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Jack,
Thank
just
you.
so